Well, hello, and welcome to the PJH Writing Command Center for another podcast episode from God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC. Woohoo! Oh, yeah. And I am Paul John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC. I am the flagship author, chief photographer, music reviewer, music critic, do-everything guy here at God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC, with a little help from my friends. And we have some friends here today, although it's a limited attendance of friends for this podcast because it is just so hot out. Oh, my goodness gracious. It's another scorcher here in Central Virginia. Lean back here, look at the old weather station guy, the little figurine guy on the weather station. I think he's going to get heat stroke before this the whole summer is over. My goodness gracious, it's 100 degrees right on the nose. 100 degrees, and it is heat index of 112. So at least the humidity's burning off. And that's the way it tends to go here in Central Virginia. You get higher temperatures up over 100 or close to 100, and does burn the humidity down. Whereas if you're around 92, 93, sometimes in the high 80s, the humidity is just dripping. But at any rate, it will be autumn before you know it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we have Christmas in July coming up. What does that matter? Is that going to do anything? No, I don't think it's going to do anything. But anyway, it's a psychological thing. If you are a first-time tuner-inner, if that's even a word, then welcome. If you're a long-time listener, a subscriber, a follower, a reader of my books, then thank you and welcome back. And we're just thrilled you're here to join us for this podcast episode. So before we get too deep into the gravy and the meat and potatoes today, and we have a lot of things to cover here. I keep saying I'm going to cut the podcast down, and I think it gets worse. Doing a terrible job here. This podcast... If you can, speaking of Christmas in July, if you can get your little Orphan Annie decoder pins out, find them in that hidden drawer somewhere, open it up. It's in the back. It's next to the paper clips. There you go. You got it. You got it? Oh, it was next to the rubber bands. Okay, you got it. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Corporate Facilities Group Incorporated, the leader in technical consulting, facilities maintenance, facilities management and operations, as well as property maintenance and management services throughout America. And now, CFG Incorporated is proud to announce a new department, a new initiative, headed up by the amazing Steve McMillan. Friends, let's give it up for old Steve. Yeah, we love Steve. Steve brings as many years of experience as he manages pre-construction services and estimating for residential development, residential renovations, and light commercial projects for CFG Incorporated. Before you spend big bucks on a project, please let old Steve Aruski check out the contractor scope and price to make sure your hard-earned money is going in exactly the right place. Check CFG out on the web at www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. That's www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. And many thanks to Lydia, Steve, Liliana, Summer the doggy, and Smokey the kitty cat at CFG down there in beautiful Marietta, Georgia. I'm sure it's pretty steamy down there too. And but I lived in Atlanta for about 4 years. And thanks to, I'm digressing. Thank you, Steve and Lydia and everybody at CFG in beautiful Marietta, Georgia. But, living in Central Virginia, basically from, I don't know, I guess the Richmond area up to Philadelphia, even southern Jersey, Delaware, it's just a swamp, a sultry swamp in the summer. Port Baltimore, Washington, D.C. Oh, my goodness gracious. And it's just that little slice there. But living in Atlanta, I actually loved living there, except for the traffic. Oh, my goodness gracious. But you got a little elevation, it's quite high above sea level, and they call it Hotlanta. And it does get hot during the day. But when the sun goes down, it reminded me more of being back home. And, you get some steamy days in Jersey, but when the sun went down, you get a little breeze and it cooled down, and it was humid, but not as just disgusting as it is here. I don't know how else to put it, but anyway, I digress. Thank you so much, CFG Incorporated, for sponsoring our podcast. We truly appreciate it. And we do have a not-for-profit fundraiser announcement. It was sent in by a good friend of mine, a regular listener to the podcast. And thank you so much for sending it in. And if you have any not-for-profit goodwill events, charity functions, anything that you would like Paulie to announce free of charge here on the podcast, please send them ahead to God Bless the Keg Publishing at gmail.com. God Bless the Keg Publishing at gmail.com. We also love to read comments, emails, reviews, telling me I'm a wacko, telling me you enjoyed stuff, whatever you want to send to Paulie. I make a point of trying to read them once a week. It's been really crazy for me with a lot of different things going on, business-wise and personal-wise. So I try to get to everything. I might not answer you, but I do love you. And thank you for sending it. It's just a difficult time right now, and we're trying to squeeze a lot of things into a very small sack of potatoes here right now. So we're going to get to you. And if you have a suggestion for the rated series, I know I have 3 or 4 in the queue. I'm sorry, I have not listened to the music artists, but I will get to them. I promise. But we do have this announcement. It comes from, and this is speaking of Christmas, this is wonderful. I love this organization, the Butler Kinnelon, New Jersey Veterans Wreaths Group. And what this organization does, it's part of Wreaths Across America. Speaking of Christmas, at Christmas time, at the holiday season time, they purchase these wreaths and go to veterans' grave sites in cemeteries and place wreaths free of charge onto the graves of veterans. And it's just fantastic. You check that out, Wreaths Across America. And this particular, it's already on Wednesday, July 29th. The Butler Kinnelon group of the Veterans Wreaths Group is going to have a fundraiser at Tastefully British. Oh, yeah. I know this place. Oh, my goodness. Back to my dear mom heritage and some fish and chips. Oh, my goodness gracious. They have great fish and chips here. So it's a grab-and-go fundraiser. Wednesday, July 29th, for the Butler Kinnelon Veterans Wreaths Group. You can get a large fish and chips, or if you prefer, a chicken dinner, and it's from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tastefully British, 163 Union Avenue in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. That's 163 Union Avenue, Bloomingdale, New Jersey, 4 p.m., 8 p.m. By taking part in this fundraiser, you are helping to recognize those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. We cannot tell you how much your generosity is appreciated. The funds generated will be used to purchase wreaths to place on grave sites of our local veterans in our local cemeteries during the holiday season. So Wednesday, July 29th, fantastic thing. Please, if you're in the area, enjoy some fantastic fish and chips or chicken. It's a wonderful place. I love it. Thank you so much for sending this in. It's awesome. Yeah, I love this stuff. And I'm very proud of myself. I did pretty well. I'm at 9 minutes. So don't I deserve, friends, don't I deserve, thank you. Yeah, usually I go wandering off around the old universe, pulling a Gene Shepherd, but I have a lot of ground I want to cover, and it's been an emotional week, a lot of personal things, a lot of business things, and you go through life, you know, and I want to get to the meat and potatoes here, and it's the circle of life, you know, things happen, and I'm not going to get into too many of the details, but that's just the way life is. So I would like to dedicate this podcast episode to my dear mom. And in looking back on some books and looking at the series I wrote, Harry and Paul, and the flash fiction pieces, some of the standalone novels and everything, I remember dear mom saying to me, and I forget what book it was, I think we were into the flash fiction, into the Flash, Sparks, and Shorts, which I think there's 5 of those, and then 6 is a compilation, the best of the Flashes. And I guess dear mom's my biggest fan. Of course, right? Yeah, your mother, right? So dear mom says to me, you know, Paulie, I love all this stuff and it's fantastic. And I love the flash fiction because they're easy reads and you can read them and my eyes aren't too swift anymore and all that stuff. But I think it was after Flash 4. And she says to me, she says, Paul, you need to jolly it up a little bit. And just like a first-time tuner-inner, I'm not sure jollying is actually a word. Maybe it is in England. I don't know. But I knew what she meant. She said, I love when you write that offbeat humor. The Harry and Paul thing is so good because it's crazy adventures and crazy humor. But at the same time, you do have the emotions and you do have the roller coaster of joy. And you have the touches of romance, and then you have the pain of real life, and you mix it so wonderfully. And of course, she's my mom, right? So anyway, so I took that advice, and she said, go back to some of the offbeat humor, go back to the fun, and write a couple books like that. Nothing wrong with the emotions. I love those too. And she said, but you're making your dear mom cry too much. She said, I want to laugh. So Flash... I guess it's Flash 5, Flashes, Sparks, and Shorts. Flash 5 contains a tremendous amount of the offbeat humor. And if you ever read my hero, my radio hero, any of his short stories, Gene Shepherd, the great Mr. Gene Shepherd, Christmas Story, Little Orphan Annie Decoder Pins, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. But he had a series of short story books in the late 60s right through to the 70s. In fact, A Christmas Story is really just a compilation of a number of those short stories, and he flipped them all together and masterfully created A Christmas Story. What comes to mind is Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, those two books. And they're short stories, and they're nostalgic because he's going back to his hometown, his home city, and his best buddy Flick, who's mentioned in A Christmas Story, runs a bar. And he stops. He's on business, but he's close enough to home to stop. And he sits in over a whole afternoon, nursing beers, reminisces with Flick over their childhood growing up. And it's perfect for Paulie. I mean, it's just, the kind of thing I love and the kind of thing I love to write about and think about. So I was, going through this time, and some personal stuff, and that's part of life. Like I said, the circle of life, and I'm not going to dwell on that right now. And I thought about the offbeat humor, and Shep in those books, it's just crazy offbeat humor. If you listen to the 4th of July episode, I mentioned the famous Ludlow Kissel story and all the other crazy stuff. And I thought about the Harry and Paul adventures and some of the chapters, The Flipper Strikes Back and The Night Always Comes. And there's a famous ice cream, going shopping in the quest for peppermint ice cream. That's the chapter. It's in the Miracle Tree. And that's a hilarious chapter where Harry's wife is pregnant with their child, and she has a craving for peppermint ice cream. And Harry and Paul go to the local food world to pick up this peppermint ice cream and all the things that happen. And so, offbeat humor, crazy stuff. And I wrote Flashes, Sparks, and Shorts, Flash 5. And it had just some crazy stories in there. Offbeat humor, slapstick, comedy. And Dear Mom loved it. And there's a number of stories in there. And I want to share one of those, maybe two of them, depending on how my time goes. And like I said, I got a lot of things I want to cover here. And I'll read one of those because Dear Mom always says, she can't hear too good, even worse now. But the podcast, she said, I love when you read the stories, Paulie. I love when you read the stories. The music rated thing, that's all good. I know you like that, but you don't do any Jackie Gleason or Frank Sinatra ratings. So, I don't know who Dire Straits is. She knows who Yes is, though. But at any rate, I do need to read more of the books. And a lot of people tell me that. And it's so hard, the ham radio guys are after me. They're like, hey, Paulie, you don't talk about radio. You don't do that enough. And then, I don't read enough. And there's too much rated. And they don't like the things we rate. It's hard. It's a variety thing. So I try to mix it all up. But at any rate, on the heels of that, I had a conversation with a young lady about Night Always Comes. And she thought how it was such a positive book. And I'm not going to go too deep into that. Maybe that'll be another podcast. But conversation was wonderful, and I've been blessed to have employed in my primary source of income a number of young folks and young people and wonderful people, spirited people who taught this old dog so many things. And I received such valuable insight into what young people go through. And like I said, maybe I'll do a podcast on our conversation and the ensuing events, but staying positive despite terrible adverse situations, in my opinion, is so important. And when you go through these terrible times in your life, and we all do, it's just the circle of life, it's part of life, staying positive and positive energy and laughing and remembering the beauty of life and the wonderful things that happen along with the adverse things. And it's sort of kind of like God's plan. He never says in any, no matter what your religion is, that everything's going to be a bed of roses and you're going to skip through flowery meadows every day of your life. I think the offbeat humor is a lot of fun. And I picked up this week, because I needed a little pick-me-up, the Flashes, Sparks, and Shorts Flash 5. And even though I wrote it and I know the stories, I have found myself laughing. And then I thought of another time in my life when I was really, really going through it, and as well as everybody did, with the Great Recession, 2008 to about 2010, whatever. And those were awful times, people losing their houses, no jobs, all these horrible things going on. And it was difficult for Paulie. I went through some tremendous upheaval in my life. I had to have some surgery that was extremely serious. In fact, I wrote The Night Always Comes during that period. A period of, I'll be honest with you, depression because of a medical situation and family situations and personal things. And you're struggling to stay afloat. But despite all that, there were tremendous positive things that came out of it. The Time Bomb in the Cupboard, The Christmas Tree and Other Christmas Stories, wrote all these books. Then The Night Always Comes and Reunion. And my creativity entered into the healing. And my creativity and my desire to create made me uplifted and provided me a source of happiness during difficult times. And I think when you're an artist, when you're going through emotional or troubled times, that's when your creativity peaks. There's no question, you're going through these emotional things and these traumas, medical traumas, mental traumas, and the creativity just bursts. Night Always Comes will always be a special novel for me because many people say it's my opus. I don't know, but I wrote it in 3 weeks, 100 and maybe 20,000 words. I don't know. And it just came out of me. And it's got those funny, humorous chapters, and it has pain and emotion and tragedy in the circle of life. So I was thinking about it, and I reread some of the humorous stories. And then I remembered a time on the heels of the Great Recession when I was picking myself up, picking up the parts and pieces, getting work, getting money back, trying to pay off bills and trying to pay mortgages despite the circumstances, all the things that were going on. And I remembered taking a part-time job. And I have not dwelled on this too much in either in my writing career. I think I mentioned it in experiences, and I haven't talked about it on the podcast and everything. But I took this part-time job. That was one of the greatest jobs I ever had. And I think I mentioned in a podcast about 76 trombones. It was a play. But I took this part-time job at this art center, a creative art center. And it really was wonderful. Despite the fact that I was working, 80 hours a week because I had another part-time job and I had a full-time job. I was trying to, stay afloat, keep my family afloat, keep everything afloat. And I did. I succeeded. And it wasn't easy and it took a lot out of me. And I was even writing at the time. But this art center was full of fellow creators. And I'll tell a real good story about that one, about when I created a modern art. But I have 1,000 stories from that part-time job. But my title was security, nighttime security, and maintenance, right up my alley. And I worked, I think, maybe 2 nights a week, and I worked the weekends, the late shift on Saturday and Sunday, because nobody else wanted to work that one. And that fit perfectly into my schedule. And they had a boiler and they had a chiller plant there, and I had to maintain that, and I had to do security rounds. It was right up my alley. And I had to stand by the lobby and do security, and we had county police that would assist me. They were out in the parking lot, and they had these big events, and it was right up my background. It was perfect for it. My old corporate security background, as well as the maintenance and maintaining, and we could get toilets overflowing and the chiller would go down and all this stuff. And I was like the key person for the organization. But along the way, and they had plays and they had music and they had dance lessons and they had sculptors and oil painting and they had music lessons and they had a photography class, ballet, and all these fantastic creative things. And Paulie just blended right in, being a fellow creator. Took a little photography with them when I was able to squeeze it in. I would talk to the musicians that came in. There were guitar lessons and piano lessons and organ lessons and all kind of violin. And I'd sit and talk to the young musicians and old musicians and the instructor, and we'd talk about music. And then the plays would go on and the performances. And it was just enlightening and filled me with just a creative joy to mix with these artists, even though my job was nothing. They had a gallery with the oil paintings, and artists would come and display their photography. I talk photography. It was just fantastic. They had a big ballroom there. They'd have wedding receptions, and I'd have to do the security for the receptions. You get a bunch of people dipping into the old boozerooski. So I just loved it. But at any rate, part of what I did there was I did get sucked into the creativity. When people learned that I was a writer and I took my photographs and I worked for the world famous camera manufacturer and I had a love of music and I wrote music reviews and played a couple instruments. I just melted into their environment, fellow creators, fellow eccentric people like me. And there was this opportunity. It was like, I don't know how to describe it, summer playhouse. This summer playhouse type thing, where in the summer season, of course, things get lax. People are on vacation. The kids are out of school. They're going places. So they would be searching for performances. Fellow came to me who was a good friend of mine through the art center, and he was like a manager of events. And he said, Paulie, would you be interested in writing some screenplays for some skits and whatever comes into your mind? And what came into, I said, yeah, I'll do that. That's fantastic. I love it. I said, how long and he was like, I just envisioned like a series of skits, maybe 2 people, 3 people involved in each skit. And it would be wonderful if it could be comedy or humor or satire or something like that. So I said, yeah, let me think about that. So I came up with this character, this fictional character based upon me, the world famous author. And it's me. It's John Hausleben. And he's like this I don't know. He's kind of like a doofus, for lack of a better word. I guess he's a doofus, friends. And he's under a delusion that he's actually world famous. He's the world famous author. And it kind of, when I wrote the first couple episodes and I ran the screenplay by the friend of mine, the event manager, he said, you need to do this, Paul. You need to do these skits. You need to be the person doing this, a one-man performance. And it was really great advice. And I was embarrassed to go up on a stage and do this. So we came to an agreement that I would do this. And it never quite got off onto the Playhouse and all that stuff. But we filmed about 30 videos of the world famous delusional author. And it is total offbeat humor. And he's under the impression that he is world famous, and he has this whole staff. And the staff just goes along with, he supposedly has a bodyguard, he has an agent, he has all these folks that help him with things. And of course, he's a failure. He's an utter failure. But he still has this tremendous positive energy, despite his despair. And despite being a failure, no matter what, you can't convince him that he's not world famous. He's Ted Lasso before Ted Lasso, because the world famous author character that I created is just so optimistic. And no matter all the defeats that happen to him in these little skits, some are only 4 minutes, 8 minutes long. And we finally did put them and publish them, God bless the Keg Publishing, to videos. And in a roundabout way, a lot of people watched them. I think they were on YouTube for a while, and they were incredibly popular. And I filmed them with the help of a friend who was a very good video person, videographer. And in some of the episodes, some of the skits, you can actually hear him laughing in the background as he films it. And they're just wonderful because they're just so positive. And this character is, despite everything that happens to him, is positive. So I was thinking about all the circumstances, and I remembered this, and I filmed him back in, I wrote him in, I think, 2010, and we filmed him over a period of time. I think the latest one goes up to about 2013. And they're just so much fun. And I resurrected a lot of those, and I want to play 3 or 4 of them. And they were huge, huge hits with my mom and my Uncle Ed. My Uncle Ed loved the world famous author because he just thought he said he's just so optimistic. And when you go through these tribulations, a little laughter goes a long way to healing. And it makes you remember, despite the circumstances, you remember all the good things, all the blessings, all the power of life, and the great memories. They come to the surface, and they don't offset all the pain all the time. They don't make you forget the suffering, the things that are going on, but they help to heal. So for this podcast episode dedicated to Dear Mom, I'd like to play 3 or 4 of these selections. And keep in mind, these are filmed a long time ago. They're actually video. I'm only extracting the audio. And they're old, quite dated, but we're going to go with 4 of them. And the first one I'm going to play is called Miss Not Too Swift. And the setting is the world famous author is having a party at the command center. The writing command center is mentioned here. And he's inviting his supposed staff that he thinks works for him. And he's inviting them over for pizza, beer, to watch a hockey game. And that's the setting. So I'm going to play it right now. And here we go with Miss Not Too Swift from the skits, comedy skits, around the year 2009 to 2013, the world famous author. Hang on, I got to push a lot of buttons. Well, hello. I'm a little concerned here in the command center today because, I can't get a hold of any of the world famous team members. I don't know what's going on. It's Sunday afternoon here, and, I got my flyer hat on, and I ordered up a bunch of pizzas for delivery, and we got some beer and soda and chips coming, and, the whole team was coming over this afternoon to watch the hockey game, and I don't know what's going on, but, here's kind of what happened is, I got these free tickets, when you're world famous, people just throw these spiffs at you all day long, and I got these free tickets for this new young lady that sings all around the world there, and everybody loves her, and I don't know the name, or Not Too Swift, I think that's the name, or Not Too Swift, and I don't know. Anyway, the boys were all excited. They got these tickets on God Bless the Keg Day, and they ran out of here late on Friday, and they dashed off to the music concert. And, I haven't seen them. I don't know what's going on. I left message after message. I tried, my bodyguard, world famous Honest Innes, and my agent, Harrison Reed, and Fire Dude, and Mr. Jose, Sir Cumberbatch, everybody, The Flash, Boswell, nobody's answering. So I'm a little concerned of what could have happened. I don't know what could have happened there, and I just been waiting and hoping that, here comes a call in now. Oh, it's Reeves. Oh, boy, I got so excited. I hope nothing happened, This is the world famous author, John Hausleben speaking. Yeah, Harrison, it's me. Oh, you know it was me because I answered the phone that way? Yeah, you said that I should answer the phone that way, that I shouldn't answer the phone that way anymore? Well, hey, anyway, you know, where you guys been, man? You went off to the Not Too Swift concert, and, You're in Kalamazoo, Michigan? What? I mean, I got the beer and the pizza coming over. We're not gonna watch the hockey game? Oh, you know, what is everybody with you, Reeves? Everybody's with you? You know, if you don't mind me asking, you know, how'd you end up in Kalamazoo? Huh? A fight broke out at the Not Too Swift concert? And Raphael? Oh, yeah, Raphael protected Miss Not Too Swift, huh? And she and the lights all went out during the concert, and Mr. Jose fixed it. And then a fire broke out backstage, and the fire dude put the fire out. So she hired all you guys away, huh? So now you're part of her traveling entourage. Well, you know, I thought we were a team, Reeves. You know, you've been my agent for all these years, and, you know, I don't have a bodyguard now. The fans are going to trample the command center here. Huh? And what about Sir Cumberbatch in The Flash? Oh, he joined up too, huh? He's slaying dragons for Miss Not Too Swift. Well, I mean, you know, her legs are a lot better than mine. Well, I can kind of understand that, Reeves, but still, you know, it's kind of a crushing defeat here. You know, I mean, huh? And she actually paid you guys? Well, I could see where that might be a little bit of an incentive, Reeves, but, you know, huh? Harrison, you know, well, you know, it seems like the boys might have hit the big time. I mean, they were world famous with me, but I guess Miss Not Too Swift has a little bit more going for her than I might, and apparently she looks a whole lot better too. Oh, well, hey, you know, when you're world famous, these things happen, and, you know, I'm going to practice on my finely tuned instrument here. I think I'm going to maybe call up Ian Anderson at Jethro Tull, and, you know, I've been practicing locomotive breath. And I'm kind of thinking him on his flute and me on my finely tuned instrument, you know. I could probably, you know, hit the big time there. And, you know, I guess Miss Not Too Swift, she probably moves around and wiggles on the stage. I guess I gotta practice that. But anyway, hey, that's the way it goes. And right for now, I better go cancel all that pizza. Maybe I'll call up Steve McMillan. He's always, you know, drinking all my beer anyway. So, oh, well, hey, you know, let me practice a few bars of, you know, maybe Aqualung will be a little easier. Yeah. I gotta look up that Miss Not Too Swift and, you know, see what she was all about there, and short skirt keys, and I tell you, it's not easy anymore.
So there we go. The first skit is Miss Not Too Swift. So the next one is the bestsellers list, and the world famous author for this to make the setting is he receives a call. He receives royalties, and he thinks it's $50, and it's really 50 cents. He's like a sad sack. But he's still positive. He's still energetic. And he gets a phone call from his world famous agent, Harrison Reeves Reed. So here we go. This is called The Best Sellers List. This one's from 2010.
Got a little carried away here. I think I forgot that I pushed the video button there, and I was just practicing along on my finely tuned instrument, and I'm really starting to get the hang of it. And practice makes perfect, you know, and just kind of practicing well, you know, recent viewers to some of our videos might realize this, but due to some information that I recently came across and a little sudden change of events, I've realized the error of my ways, and actually Silver Bells is now my favorite Christmas tune too. But that's a whole different story. But here we are in the PGH Command Center. It's only a couple days to Christmas, and we're all kinds of excited here. We got all kinds of fantastic things happening, and I just installed all this whiz-bang new super deluxe technology. And the reason I did it and sprung for, a few extra bucks for all this high-class equipment is that the recent sales of the books, everything's going crazy. And I kind of figured that it's worth the investment now to kind of upgrade things. The Christmas tree and other Christmas stories with the captivating foreword by Stephen Michael McMillan. That's another story. I got to tell you about a little thing that I got with Steve, but that's a whole different story. And we have the Great Autumn Book and E.O. Bookshop. It's just, when you're world famous, it just becomes overwhelming. And, who knew, about a year ago we started with the Time Bomb in the Cupboard and other adventures of Harry and Paul, and ever since then, as you can see, it's overwhelming. The phone rings off the hook, the emails. But anyway, I got a little preoccupied today, and I might have had my earbuds in, and I was playing my instrument, but I didn't hear the doorbell in the command center, and it turns out it was Harrison Reeves Reed, my world famous agent. He left me a voicemail later on saying he dropped off an envelope with all the royalties of the recent book sales. And I got all excited, and I got the envelope and kind of opened it up, and I was just counting here a few minutes ago before things got a little crazy, and I decided to practice. And another exciting thing, I put a little ad in the paper for a receptionist to be able to answer the phone and handle all the deluge of calls that I'm sure are going to come in. And, in retrospect, in counting some of the profits here, I might have jumped the gun just a little bit with the whole receptionist thing. But, it's good to get the resumes, because I'm sure, all this stuff's going to come to fruition. It's just, I might have been a little bit... I might have been a little bit gun happy there and jumped the gun. But, hey, it's all good. It's Christmas, and we're just waiting here for the Jet season to end. We're not going to get into the Jets. But I did place a call to Joe Namath a couple days ago, and I haven't gotten a call back from Joe, and wanted to see if he really could help us with this whole quarterback situation. And I don't know. He hasn't called me back. He might not be quite up to game speed yet, and I keep checking the voicemail, but I might have to follow up with Joe and see what's going on with that. But in the meantime, we're just kind of hanging out here, and see, here comes a call coming in on my and I got this set on a vibrate, and it's Harrison. Wait on, just a minute. Paul John Hausleben, world famous author, speaking. Hey, yeah, Harrison. Yeah, I always answer the phone like that. What do you think of that? It's good, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, we're busy here. I was just it's a little low on the phones right now till you called, but Yeah. Oh yeah, I got the envelope, and I want to thank you for that. It's just that. When you said there was, 50 in there, I didn't think it was all these coins. Kind of thought there might be some, paper involved in it, Harrison. But, hey, it's a start. Yeah, well, I kind of feel bad about, some of the things I said the other day about maybe getting a new man. And what news? No kidding. What? Number 2 on the bestseller list? Which book, Harrison? Oh my gosh, the Christmas tree. Oh, it's a great book. It's the foreword by Macmillan. It just put us over the top. Huh? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll check it out. NewYorkTimes.com, I guess. Is that where I go? Huh? Not the NewYorkTimes.com? Oh, well, just give me the website here, Harrison. I got the screen coming up right now. Huh? The Newington Town Crier? Newington, Connecticut? We're number 2 on that list, Harrison? Harrison. Yeah, no, I don't want to seem unappreciative, Harrison. It's just that, I got the coins here, and let me ask you this, Harrison. Who's number 1? A kid who wrote an essay of what he wants for Christmas? Harrison, yeah, we might have to talk on Monday after the games. Yeah, Harrison, can you hear me? Harrison, call me on the landline. Harrison, you call me on the land? Well, this technology might quite not be up to what I thought it was at this point, but hey, it's not all glory, folks. It's not all glory. So, hey, number 2 on the bestseller list in Newington, Connecticut, I'm going to take it. The way I look at it is maybe the kid wrote one whale of an essay to Santa Claus. So, if I came in second fiddle to the kid, well, I'm going to still take it. It's Christmas. After all, tidings of comfort and joy. So let me say, Merry Christmas to everybody. I'm going to go check my other voicemail upstairs just in case that, I might have missed Joe. And then I'll rush back here and answer all the phone calls. But in the meantime, folks, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. And I really, really hope that, all your dreams come true. And until then, we'll see you next time. Go Jets and Silver Bells.
There you go. The delusional world famous author makes the bestsellers list. So that's a good one. And I love how the agent Harrison Reed always hangs up on him and he thinks he's lost the connection. So, okay. So I'm watching my times. The next skit that's up is one of my favorites. It's the world famous author answers questions on emails. So that's the setting on this one. And as I said, despite the adversity, and he's almost like a lonely soul, he's under the delusion that the phone rings all the time. Of course, the phone never rings and all the stuff that's going on. But the positivity is still there. So the world famous author answers questions is the next one. Let me cue it up here, folks.
Well, hello to everybody out there, and welcome to the PGH Writing Command Center, the home of the world famous John Hausleben. That's me, author, raconteur. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway, my world famous agent Harrison Reed. He's always tinkering with my image. You see, if you watch a lot of videos, I have a different chair now. And he's changed my chair to this. Let me show you this new age type. And the jury's still out on it. It's okay. It's just not. Anyway, I just got to get used to it. Anyway, Harrison, he signed me up on this website, Good Something or Other, and he says, Paul, you're always writing and putting out new material. You're playing your finely tuned instrument. You're answering all the calls that come into the command center, watching the Jet games. He said, you got to take some time and interact with your fans. Your fans love you. So he set me up with this question and answer thing, and I haven't gotten to the website yet, to be honest with you. I'm a little apprehensive, so Harrison's been answering a lot of the questions coming in, and, that's what I pay him an exorbitant fee for. But anyway, he says to me, I think it would be good for one of your videos if you would get on to the air and answer some of these emails that I don't know the answers to. So he said to me, I sent you 3 questions, and I want you to answer them to the fan base while you film the video. So I thought that was fair enough. So, that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring them up on the screen and we're going to see what we have. So we're going to get right to it here. I got to talk to you about this chair. But anyway, it says here's the first one. And the question comes in from Paterson, New Jersey. I happen to know that place. But anyway, I wonder if this person's on the north side. But anyway, it's Baldy. Anyway, Baldy in Paterson, New Jersey writes, Dear Mr. Hausenflopper, it's Hausleben, but anyway, Dear Mr. Hausenflopper, let's see here, it's blah, 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 just all general. Oh, I'm sorry, Baldy, it's a good email, I can see it. And he or she says, I have a hard time choosing which one of your books I enjoy the most. I happen to have narrowed it down to The Night Always Comes. Oh, that's a great book. I happen to have, here it is right here. Here's a copy of The Night Always Comes. One of the first copies, first novel I ever wrote. But anyway, it says, the chapter where you, Binky, and Rose go on the Flipper amusement ride made me wet my pants. Sorry to hear that, Baldy. That is a funny chapter, but it's really not me. It's the character, but anyway, and Binky and Rose are kind of like characters too. But anyway, I hope you didn't wet your pants in a bad location there. But when I wet my pants, I happened to be sitting in the dentist's office. I'm really sorry to hear about that, Baldy. Write us a letter, and just send me your address, Baldy in Paterson, and we'll send you a free copy in the next book, and maybe Harrison could get a coupon for a new pair of pants for you. I'm really sorry about all that. I'm going to skip over the rest of the email, and let's see what the next one is. This one is Carefree and Easy in Old Tappan, New Jersey. These pen names are quite unique. Carefree and Easy. It says, Dear Pastor Henson, I'm not Pastor Henson. He's a character in the book. But anyway, you seem to be so knowledgeable about a wide variety of subjects. Oh, well, thank you, Carefree and Easy. That's very nice of you. Thank you. You seem to always be dealing with your own wacky situations. He's fairly observant, actually. I was hoping you could answer a question for me. I like to do all my housekeeping and cleaning around my house while in the nude. I thought these were questions about the books. No wonder Harrison couldn't answer them. I think he set me up. I'm sorry, Carefree and Easy. I'm not going to go there, folks. I'm sorry. Let me try to get to the question here. It says, I'm sorry. I got it under control. Do you think this is a good idea? Well, I'm not exactly sure what this has to do with the books. And, if I was Pastor Henson, I think that he would have a tough time with this question, too. But, Carefree and Easy, you might consider a new pen name. I get it, but I don't want to get it. And the other thing is, I guess, if you keep your shades down, and depending on where you are, kind of in a neighborhood there in Old Tappan, it might be okay if the houses are kind of set far apart, but I would probably be very careful if I was ironing or sewing. And maybe using some of those harsh cleaning chemicals they have nowadays. They might burn in a very bad spot. But at any rate, oh my goodness gracious, I hate to go on a website. I can only imagine what those questions are like. Hey, good luck with all that, Carefree and Easy, and, next time I go through Old Tappan, I'll be sure that, I don't ride through your neighborhood. That's for sure. Let's see. Here's the last question. Thankfully, we're coming to the end of this, folks. This Harrison guy, oh my goodness gracious. This comes from I Want to Move. In Newington, Connecticut. Oh, in Newington. Hey, I know that spot. It says, Dear Mr. Hausleben, at least I got my name right. I'm hoping you can help me. I live next door to a wacko next door neighbor. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Newington's a nice little town. I don't know why you're so, Well, anyway, let's see what he says. He wears dark sunglasses at all times of the day and night, even if it's a blinding snowstorm or a driving rainstorm. I don't necessarily see anything unusual about that, to be honest with you. He writes these stupid books that he thinks are good, and he plays his kazoo real loud at all hours of the day and night. He's a huge New York Jets fan, and he's always wearing a Joe Namath jersey. What do you think of a nutcase like this? Well, this is hitting a little close to home, I think. I want to move, here's what I think. I want to move, it's a free country, and look on it this way. You could be living next to Carefree and Easy in old Japan. Then you'd have to, then all of a sudden a little rendition of Silver Bells on a kazoo might not be so bad. Especially if those harsh cleaning chemicals come into the work. But anyway, hey, this is about all the time I have for this one. And, I'm going to rethink this next time. I think, next time Harrison's got to screen these questions a little bit better. So we'll do a little better next time. And for all you folks out there, wandering around in northern New Jersey, be sure to keep your eyes focused dead ahead. Especially in old Japan. So I'm going to play my kazoo, and I'm going to go stand out in front here and do a little rendition of Silver Bells, and I'm going to call a moving truck for I Want to Move. So, hey, we'll see you next time. Hang in here, folks. I'm going to play it really, really loud.
All right, there you go. That's all we have time for. Actually, I have two other clips that I wanted to do, so that'll give me an excuse to carry that over to the next time. So I'm going to get, let me get right to the story here that dear mom just loved. And for some reason, it just struck her so funny. She said, Paulie, I just love that story. Heavenly Baseball. It's called Heavenly Baseball, and it's from Flash 5. Pastor Guggenheim Warnout had been the senior pastor since the Lutheran Church of the Saints was a small corner church on a lonely country road. In a stroke of keen foresight to the future and led by God's plan, the church's charter members purchased adjacent acreage next to the church property from a dairy farmer who wanted to move to Boersville, Nebraska, and start his life over. The dairy farmer's wife said he was too boring, and she ran off with the manager of the local food store, never to be seen again, in order to start a new life. The expansion of the church was phenomenal. Who would have known that the famous Moondog Corporation would have built their corporate headquarters here? In Zippy, New Jersey, the middle of nowhere. Now the small town exploded, and with that growth, the church expanded too. At first, Pastor Warnout enjoyed it. A larger sanctuary, then an education wing, then another school building, then a gym, and a fellowship hall with a full-size kitchen, then a Christian school, kindergarten, all the way to grade 12. And along with that came the headaches and the stress. Pastor Warnout had been with the church for over 40 years, and now he was tired, he was grumpy, and he had seen it all. Or at least he thought he had seen it all. Now the Christian school was starting a baseball team program, building a small ballpark right about where the dairy farmer's barn once sat on the land. Tonight was the meeting to choose the name of the baseball team, the baseball team committee meeting. Pastor Warnout was looking forward to this as much as He looked forward to listening to his parishioners' comments on his sermons. Another meeting consisting of church lay leaders, money families, descendants of charter members of the church, and every single one of them will have a different opinion. The only meeting that he could envision that was worse than this one might be the Christmas wreath committee. In a bountiful stroke of logic, Pastor Warnout suggested, since that the school's basketball team, the volleyball team, the checkers team, the chess team, the bowling team, the lacrosse team, the football team, and the knitting team were all called the Saints, that this meeting could potentially be a waste of time. But no, it is never that easy. Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock, in the basement conference room, the meeting began. Pastor Warnout scanned the room and noticed all the same attendees. He opened with a prayer. In a tired voice, Pastor Warnout prayed, "Lord, please guide us and bless us with wisdom, blah, 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 blah." Mr. Faux Fum raised his hand first. Pastor Warnout knew he would. He always does. Mr. Faux Fum was very zealous in the church business. He was about 40 years old, owned a liquor distribution warehouse business in town. He was very short and had a bad comb-over hairdo. He also spoke his words with a whistle. He had a few gaps in his teeth. He and Mrs. Faux Fum picked very original names for their children, Fee, Fi, and Larry. I'm sorry. I don't know where it came up with that. Pastor Warnout called on him right away. Might as well face the music right away. Off he went in an endless whistle of words. "Thank you, Pastor Warnout. I have been thinking about this for months. I made some notes. So excited. I love baseball. Here are my ideas for heavenly baseball and geography baseball." All the attendees groaned, or at least most of them. Pastor Warnout buckled his seatbelt to prevent falling out of his chair. He was so grateful for the donation of the seatbelt for his chair. With about 72 pages of notes spread out on the table in front of him, Mr. Faux Fum began. Page 1. "I suggest the name of the team be the Saints, but we will also rename important parts of the game and our team to represent our Christian beliefs. Home plate in our new ballpark will be the collection plate. Our coaches will be pastors, and relief pitchers are now called angels." Pastor Warnout groaned and leaned forward and rested his head on his hands with his elbows on the table. Mr. Snickerdoodle did the same thing. Nothing stopped Mr. Faux Fum. Commenced whistling words. Page 2, hitting a homer is going to heaven. The seats way out in the outfields, they're no longer called the bleachers. They are hell. Get it? Hot blazing sun, relentless. The umpires, they're the Sanhedrin. Errors in the fields are sins. Safe on base is a blessing. Making an out invokes automatic forgiveness. Striking out with the bases loaded or hitting into a double play requires repentance. The dugouts are choir lofts. The young ball players are student athletes, are disciples and apostles. The area just beyond the outfield fences is the promised land. And foul territory in left fields, that was all he could take. Pastor Warnout unbuckled his seatbelt. He stood up and shouted. He waved his hands in the air. Enough. Enough. I've had it. Over. My goodness. For the love of St. Peter, the name of the baseball team is the Saints. All those in favor, say aye. Every single committee member, including Mr. Faux Fum, raised their hands and said aye. Any nays? Pastor Warnout asked with bulging eyeballs as he scanned the table, while daring any further words or discussion. No one dared to say a word. No one dared to object. Seeing none, it's a done deal. Fold your hands. We will now pray. Praise the Lord. Amen. The name of the team is the Saints. Meeting adjourned. Good night. See you later. Bye-bye. Everyone rose and began to shuffle out of the room in silence. Mrs. Wobblebutt quickly wobbled over to Mr. Faux Fum, who had his 72 pages of notes under his arm and was slowly walking out of the room. Her curiosity had gotten the best of her. Mr. Faux Fum,
Thank you. I'm a baseball lover too. I rather enjoyed your ideas for heavenly baseball. And I want to know certain things about geography baseball. I wanted to know what the names for foul territory are. But first, let me guess. The left field side is Sodom, and the right field side is Gomorrah. Mr. Fofum looked up and said, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Wobblebutt. But no, you're wrong. Right field is Patterson, and left field is Newark." I was moving on to the intense geography session when Pastor Warnout lost his mind, and I was only up to page 3. The next morning, Pastor Guggenheim Warnout called the bishop of his district. He did not hesitate 1 second when he heard the bishop answer his phone. "Bishop Washboard, I want to put my retirement papers in. Effective, hopefully, and prayfully before baseball season begins." That's for you, dear Mom. Yes, indeedy. A little laughter goes a long way. And I remember the first book I technically wrote was House on Haunted Hill. I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Drove dear Mom and actually my sister, Dottie, and my grandfather, Gramps, crazy the whole summer because I wrote this book about a ghost. And I forced dear Dottie into some kind of blackmail of an unknown origin to illustrate it. And I got Gramps to drive me to the food town to pick up construction paper, and I stapled this thing together, and I made this story, this book, House on Haunted Hill. And dear Mom, she was like, "Oh, this is the greatest book ever written." Belief. And it reminds me of Ted Lasso. And Ted Lasso, he puts a sign up in the locker room, believe. And it carries through all the episodes, on and on and on. And I don't want to spoil anything if anybody watches or does not watch Ted Lasso. And I create a spoiler, but he has this famous locker room speech after all these terrible things happen to his football club and they get defeated. And he says, "Belief doesn't happen because you hang something on a wall, all right? It comes from in here," and he taps his heart. "You know, and it comes from up here," and he taps his head. "And it comes from down here," and he taps his stomach. The only problem is we all got so much junk floating through us. A lot of times we end up getting in our own way. You know, stuff like envy or fear or shame. I don't want to mess around with that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Do you? And all the locker room players like, "No, coach, no, coach." You know what I want to mess around with? I want to mess around with the belief that I matter, regardless of what I do or don't achieve. Or the belief that we all deserve to be loved, whether we've been hurt or maybe we've hurt somebody else. Or what about the belief of hope? Yeah, that's what I want to mess around with. Believing that things can get better, that I can get better, that we will get better. Oh man, to believe in yourself, to believe in one another, man, that's fundamental to being alive. And look, if each of you can do that, if each of you can truly do that, can't nobody rip that apart. Thank you, dear Mom, for the belief. I'm just a guy from Patterson, New Jersey. Hey, I might need to take a couple weeks off. We'll see how it goes. But I promise you, I will be back. Hey, please be kind. Be very gentle. Be very tolerant. Remember, kindness is for free. Spread it around as much as you can. It can only make this world a better place. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.